What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Hungry Without a Cause, where I attempt to take bold, delicious food and flavors and try to create some sort of gourmet simplicity with them. Now, today, I'm very excited, but first, I want to thank all of you who have subscribed to this channel. I want to thank you. If you're a new viewer, please watch to the end of the video and like and subscribe if you'd like to join. Thank you so much for the support. So for today, I'm making a barbecue platter. So I'm going to have smoked brisket, 12 pounds of smoked brisket with a gorgeous, lovely, delicious coffee rub. Then I'm gonna have a rack of pork ribs. But these pork ribs are gonna be like a chipotle style pork ribs, just a normal barbecue seasoning and then a nice chipotle glaze. And chorizo, yes, smoked chorizo sausages. The sides are gonna be healthy potato salad. I'm gonna have a healthy coleslaw. And then I'm also gonna make some charro beans, which are freaking delicious, and I can't wait to have those in here. So, if you're worried about healthy coleslaw, healthy potato salad, don't worry about it. It is super delicious, and I promise you, you would probably never go back to regular potato salad after having the healthier version. It just has a better tang and taste to it. But, let's go ahead and get started. I've been at this since 4 a.m. The brisket has been in the smoker, but I'm going to show you every step of the way of what I'm doing. Let's get cooking.
Alright, to kick off our brisket rub, I've got 2 to 3 tablespoons of kosher salt and pepper each, and then 2 tablespoons of decaf coffee, followed by the same with paprika, garlic powder, and onion powder. Then I'm going to give that a quick mix before I start trimming up my brisket. Now, for the brisket, you want to get as much of the dense fat off because honestly it's not very digestible, and I've tried frying it up like some chicharrones, and I'm telling you right now, it's not good. You will have really bad heartburn. So get as much of it off as you can. You want to leave some fat, of course, but then there's also those dense layers of fat on brisket. Like you can see here, it's very thick and it's got to go. It has got to go, everyone. So just gonna safely, gently remove all that dense fat there. Now for a binder for the brisket, I'm using yellow mustard. Sometimes I use honey, it comes out really well, but today I'm using yellow mustard. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay that on, spread it all out, and then I'm gonna add in the seasoning and rub it all over the brisket. The full recipe will be below, but I just want to let you know that my smoker is going at 225 right now, and I'm going to pop in that brisket, and it takes quite a bit, so you want to weigh it out and figure out how long per pound it'll take. Now, for our ribs, so I've got some pork ribs here, and I'm just going to make sure that they're nice and dry, so I'm just taking a paper towel to get off as much of that moisture as I can from all the blood, and just wipe it up real clean. You know, you really want this pretty dry before you start seasoning it and everything. For the pork ribs, I'm going to go ahead and just lay on some store-bought barbecue seasoning. Normally I make my own, but like today I just didn't feel like it, so I just went ahead and went with some smoked paprika based barbecue rub. It's got garlic powder, onion powder in it and everything. So yeah, just use whatever you want that's a good rub for it. I would recommend a barbecue based rub. And I'm just going to cover all of the ribs here. Now to start our barbecue sauce. So this barbecue sauce, I'm going to start off with some onions. So this is about a whole onion that's been diced, white onion of course, and it's just searing up in a saucepan with some olive oil in it, about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and I just want to sweat these onions. You can get them caramelized. I've done that in the past. It comes out really well. But then I'm going to add in about a half a cup of brandy, and you can use whiskey as well. That's perfectly fine. And I do this with the heat off because I don't want to flambe this because my microwave is right above my stovetop. That wouldn't be very smart. But once everything's kind of sweated down a little bit, I'm going to add in about 7 cloves of garlic. And I want to mince these, so I'm going to go ahead and mince these through and add them to the sauce. And note, I don't have the burner on. Again, I'll turn the burner back on in a little bit. It'll be a medium to low heat. I will turn that on in a second here, but first I just want to make sure everything's stabilized and I can start adding in that garlic, and I'll slowly reheat this again. See, there we go. So I added on the heat and stirred it up. Then about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and then I'm going to go with half a cup of ketchup to start off with. I will add more as I go, but I'm going to start with that ketchup there, and about 2 to 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. And as you can see, I added a little bit more ketchup because I felt like it needed more. It's always to taste, is what I say. And so while that's heating up, I'm going to go ahead and mix that, and then I will come back and add in probably some salt and pepper, so about a tablespoon each, and make sure it tastes perfect. Finally, I'm going to add in some chipotle peppers, which didn't make it in the video for focus at that point, but these are chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. I'll mix that up and blend it. Now, I'm going to move on to our ribs. So our ribs have been in the smoker for a while. I cut them in half because I'm going to eat the other half of the ribs later. I add some duck fat to the ribs, and then I wrap them up. Most people do broth. I use duck fat for that. So it's up to you what you really want to use. But we're going to move on to our potato salad. So I'm using russet potatoes here, and I'm just going to dice these up into basically halves. That's what I want to go for. And I need to heat these up. It's really important to start these early on because you want to bring the potatoes to a boil, and then you want them to cool in your refrigerator. You don't want them hot when you start making the potato salad, at least for this recipe. Now, while those potatoes are boiling, I'm going to go ahead and work on the coleslaw. So I'm just dicing up, well, slicing for that matter, a bunch of carrots. So I've got about 2 carrots here that have been sectioned off into 2 to 2.5 inch strips. And then I'm going to go ahead and just slice through them. And I want them kind of thin. And then on a mandolin, or you can use whatever you want. If you're going to use a mandolin, be very careful. I am going to start working the red cabbage. And I just want to get it as fine as possible in nice, long strips that are thin and easily digestible. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and take a jalapeno, and I'm just slicing this very fine, and then I will probably quarter it or half it. It just depends on how I'm feeling for the day. Sometimes I leave whole slices like this, or sometimes I quarter it. In this case, I'm kind of halving it, I would say. And I'm going to go ahead and add that to our coleslaw mix. And so now that I've got everything in there, I'm going to go ahead and add in some distilled white vinegar, about a half a cup. You can do a quarter cup if you want. And then I'm going to come in with about a tablespoon of salt and a tablespoon of fresh ground pepper. I always like using fresh cracked pepper, fresh ground, whatever you want to call it. It is just much better and has those nice oils in it. And I want to give this a nice mix and let this in the fridge for at least 20 minutes before I add in our Greek yogurt to make this a healthier, better coleslaw. So, gonna give this a nice mix, set it aside for a little bit, then I'll come back. And when it comes to the Greek yogurt, I add it as I go. Sometimes I taste to make sure I'm not adding too much, but I start off with about 2 tablespoons. Then I give it a nice mix, and more than likely, if I like where it's going at this point, I will drain out the excess fluids that's in there from the vinegar and whatever has been extracted from any of the veggies, if that has gone on, much like when you make Korean cucumbers. When you add salt to that veggie, a lot of the moisture gets extracted. So then I'm going to go ahead and add some more Greek yogurt here, about another 1 to 2 tablespoons, and you can see it's getting more white. And while that sits aside in the fridge, because I have it where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and lather our pork ribs. What I'm doing here is I'm adding in some barbecue sauce, and sorry for the horror scene. The shot just was not good. It looks like a straight up horror scene as I'm lathering these ribs. So I greatly apologize for the horror scene here of my smoker. I try not to show my smoker usually because it's been through a lot. But anyways, I'm going to move on. And what I'm going to start working now. So I have a saucepan or a pot on my stove, and I'm working the charro beans. I don't do the long road of charro beans where it's like going to take half a day or 8 hours. I make them really quick, flash them, we're good. And so what I do is I start off with some oil at the bottom of the pan. Usually oil or duck fat is what I like to go with, or lard. And I add in about, I would say, half a pound of sliced bacon. I let those caramelize, let those get a little bit crispy in there. And then I add in some sliced onions. Sometimes I dice them, sometimes I slice them. It just depends on how I'm feeling for the day. These ones are sliced, and it's about, I would say, a medium-sized white onion. You can use whatever kind of onion you want and however much you want, because remember, when you make this, it is your recipe now. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in there. Let the onions sweat down. They're going to add a really good flavor. And then I'm going to come in with about a half a cup of chicken stock, and I add this slowly as I go. I will add more chicken stock later, more than likely, if I feel like, hey, I want a little bit more brothy feel to the charro beans. But it always just depends on how I'm feeling for the day. Most times, I can tell you 9 times out of 10, I add more chicken stock, and it ends up being the entire container. Then I'm going to add in some jalapenos. So this is 1 jalapeno that's been quartered here. I quarter it up and I drop that in there. And then I add in 2 cans of charro beans. This is enough for 4 to 6 people. If people aren't gluttons and going crazy in there, then I go ahead and add some salt and pepper to this. Pepper, you know me, if you watch my channel, I go heavy on the pepper. So I'm adding about 4 tablespoons of pepper just because I love it. And then maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons of kosher salt. Give that a nice mix and let that sit on simmer for a little while till you start seeing these nice bubbles and everything. So about medium to low heat to a simmer, and there you go. There's your charro beans. Now it has been hours, and if you know this already, I said at the beginning, I started this at 4 a.m. because smoking takes a while. So I'm gonna finish our last and final step while the meat is resting. This is our potato salad. So I'm going to pickle some onions here real quick. I've got a whole red onion that's been diced, purple onion, red onion, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes I call it purple, sometimes I call it red. I'm going to pickle that a little bit for about 10-15 minutes in that distilled white vinegar, about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of that vinegar. And then I'm going to add in a tablespoon of fresh dill. And then I'm going to add in about 2 to 3 tablespoons of pepper, and I add the pepper as I go because I like it more peppery. But for those of you that don't like pepper that much, maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons. Then I'm going to follow up with about 3 to 4 tablespoons of Greek yogurt, a tablespoon and a half to 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. Mix that around. I haven't added the potatoes yet for a good reason, because this is very liquidy. So I want to add the potatoes in almost last, and then gently toss those in there, because remember, these potatoes were boiled, then they were set in the fridge. They are very much capable of breaking apart, and we don't want that. We don't want mushy potato salad. It's not mashed potato salad here. We're making potato salad. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a nice mix, and then I'll add some more ingredients as I go. So like some salt, maybe some extra Greek yogurt, maybe some extra black pepper if I feel like it needs it. And guess what? We are done here. We are ready to eat. I'm going to set this aside, and you're going to see this beautiful masterpiece that I made, and you can make as well. All right, so we're here. So yeah, this looks really good. It's been a while. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the brisket. Take a piece of that. Wow. So good. The coffee rub is amazing. It is amazing. This is awesome.
I'm not a big rib person, even though most people are big rib persons. I'm not, but I'm gonna take a bite of the ribs, and I have to say they look so good. These are good ribs. Look at that. They're falling off. They are so good. All right, a little bit of the chorizo sausage. I added chorizo sausage. Sorry, I didn't mention it at the beginning, but I did because I felt like it needed it. So here's the chorizo sausage, smoked. Wow. I don't know what's better. Wow. And I know the potato salad's gonna be good. The coleslaw is gonna be good. But hey, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I would love to hear any recipe ideas that you have. Thank you so much. And yeah, let's keep cooking.